And welcome back, everyone. You are still listening to CFRC 101.9 FM, broadcasting from Queen's University since 1922. Coming up, we continue with our special AMS and SGPS elections and referenda coverage. I'm Dinah Jansen. In the next hour and a half, we present footage from the January 22nd Society of Graduate and Professional Students All Candidates debate, which occurred virtually with an almost historic number of candidates running for SGPS office, with 14 candidates in total. Video of the debate is available on the SGPS website at sgps.ca, and the audio for this broadcast is also available on CFRC's Campus Beat podcast via Spotify, Apple Music, and podcast.cfrc.ca. SGPS Deputy Speaker Eileen O'Brien facilitated the January 22nd All Candidates debate as moderator. Following Ms. O'Brien's brief introduction, we'll hear introductory remarks from SGPS Trustee candidates Matiss, a neuroscience PhD candidate, and Nick Mertin, a graduate student transitioning from master's to PhD in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Following their introductions, we'll hear from Vice President Community candidate Tanya, a PhD candidate in the Faculty of Education, followed by VP graduate candidate Fathi, PhD candidate in Civil Engineering, and then VP graduate candidate Ikeoluwapo Baruwa, PhD candidate in the Faculty of Education, and Surabhi Velagala, a master's student in Public Health Sciences. Following their remarks, we'll then hear from the SGPS presidential candidate Dawood Tula, a 2L student in the Faculty of Law who is running unopposed, followed by Oishik Bhattacharya, a master's candidate in the Faculty of Law running for VP Finance unopposed. Then we'll hear opening remarks from 3 of the 4 VP professional candidates, starting with Destine Lee, a 1L student in law, followed by Megan Roth, a second-year medical student, and Rit Nanda, a PhD candidate in environmental studies. The 4th candidate, Amir Shataya from Electrical and Computer Engineering, did not participate in the All Candidates debate. 2 VP community candidates, Ava Fiorino and Claire Dobby, were also not present for the debate. Following each candidate's opening remarks, they will then field prepared questions from the SGPS, then field questions from SGPS members present in the virtual space, and debate with each other over those questions. Thank you for joining us here on CFRC for our coverage of the SGPS All Candidates debate. I'll now turn it over to the SGPS Deputy Speaker, Eileen O'Brien.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2025-2026 All Candidates Debate. My name is Eileen. I'm the Deputy Speaker of the Society of Graduate and Professional Students and will be the moderator of the evening. This debate will be recorded and will be made available on the SGPS website for those who are unable to attend. I will first proceed with the land acknowledgement, next candidates' opening statements, then the prepared questions, and finally the open discussion where the audience may ask questions in the chat and candidates may debate with each other. The Society of Graduate and Professional Students recognizes the traditional and ancestral territories of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee nations on whose lands we gather on today. This land acknowledgement reminds us that rich Indigenous governances still exist and will go into the future. This should also serve as a reminder that we are benefiting by living on this land, that this is traditional territory of Indigenous people. So I'll pass the floor on to the candidates, where they will have 2 minutes to present themselves and a summary of why they should be elected. VP Finance Katie, who is assisting me tonight, and myself will raise our hands when there is only 30 seconds left. So we will start this off with Emils, if you can introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Matiss, and I am a neuroscience PhD student and the current president of the SGPS. Thank you all for joining us tonight. This is my 4th SGPS election, and it's honestly inspiring to see such strong engagement in what I think is the most contested and most attended elections in recent memory, so that's amazing. Over the past 5 years, I've immersed myself in governance. Prior to serving as SGPS president, I was twice elected as SGPS senator. I've served on 5 out of 10 Senate standing committees, chaired a Senate subcommittee, and contributed actively to departmental committees at the Center for Neuroscience Studies. Through these roles, I've spent countless hours meeting with students, faculties, administrators, and the university secretariat. I've listened to diverse perspectives and used these insights to inform my actions. I delivered speeches at Senate and at the Board of Trustees and engaged in challenging conversations with members of the senior leadership team. I've never sought to simply make noise. I've worked hard to ensure that when I speak, the issues I raise are heard. This means proposing solutions rather than just pointing out problems. My motivation for running for the Board of Trustees is twofold. First is I'm deeply uncomfortable with the fiscal direction provided to the university administration. We cannot cut our way out of a budget deficit this quickly without significant harm. Second, I'm concerned about the risk of proposals being advanced without sufficient evidence, like the recent push to cut the Queen's Graduate Award. Both issues fall within the board's purview. With the experience I've gained over the last 5 years and my demonstrated ability to advocate for students, even when that means standing up to the administration, I hope you will trust me once again to represent your interests. While the board and its processes can sometimes feel opaque, you can count on me to bring a student-centered perspective to every decision. Thank you for your time and for your consideration for me as your trustee. Together, we can ensure that we strengthen Queen's as an institution by supporting our students.
Okay, thank you, Emils. We will move on with Nick.
Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. So, hi everyone. I'm Nick Mertin. I am currently finishing my master's student, starting a PhD in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering here at Queen's. And I'm also running to be the SGPS student trustee. So so my main point in my platform is that the teaching and research mission of the university is the most important thing that the university does. And I think it is very important and it's really necessary, and it's the goal, or it should be the goal of the trustee, to ensure that that is protected and made the utmost priority in the decisions that the board makes, especially around finance and the budget and the allocation of resources. So I have held a range of other positions that are relevant to this. I have been representative mostly within at the department level and at the faculty level to the university, and in those roles I've been able to do the hard work to work with faculty members, work with staff to build consensus around ideas that I have or ideas that have been brought to me from the student body for changes that need to be made. And similar to what Emil said, not just conveying ideas or not just conveying complaints, but actually building concrete solutions, as well as a lot of governance experience on the student government and faculty society side, where I've helped overhaul a lot of internal processes and really go into analyzing why organizations aren't working well and what we can change about them to make them work better. So I'd be happy to if you would vote for me to be your trustee. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Nick. Now we will move on with Tanya.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tanya Joseph. I'm a first-year PhD student in the Faculty of Education. I have actually been at Queen's since my B.Ed, so this is actually going to be my 4th year under SGPS. So well-versed being under SGPS of what's currently happening and what are the needs of students who are both in graduate and professional studies. I do have several experiences of leadership, including being the Education Student Society Consecutive President when I was doing my B.Ed. I am currently the PhD education representative on the SGPS, and I have been on roles for Vogue Charity Fashion Show, including the IEDIAA representative. And if I was elected, there are 3 things that I do want to accomplish, including fostering an inclusive community, strengthening current community connections and creating new ones, but also supporting policy change. And this is one of my biggest things that I want to focus on. This is mainly because of what's been happening with graduate awards, what we saw back in September, but also the idea that funding and the increasing cost of living is taking a hit on student mental health. And because we're worrying a lot about housing and food insecurity, this is all compromising the mental health of graduate and professional studies students. And so if I am elected as VP community, I do want to take the opportunity to find resources and help students under SGPS find a solution. Rather than just listening and hearing the needs of students, I want to take action, which is as equally important. And my slogan actually is connecting, supporting, and empowering. And I believe that I can do that within this role. And if I am elected, I do see myself making sure that each SGPS member feels heard, valued, and supported. So please vote for me.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. We will now proceed with Ollie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ali, proud international student and PhD candidate in the civil engineering department. In Canada, I was the hiring manager of work studies in Alisal, which is the civil engineering department, for 3 years. And I've been volunteering as a mentor in youth diversion for almost 3 years. Back home, I was a civil engineer and I was leading my team to design infrastructures and prepare reports for them. I was also VP graduate during my master's, trying to increase the government subsidies for more affordable meals on campus. I'm good at listening, understanding, defining problems, proposing solutions, feasible solutions for them, while I can clearly communicate everything with my peers. I'm also a very good team member, so I'm always there to help. Also, I've been living in Kingston for 5 years, so I know what is the lifestyle of graduate students and what are their needs, which are food insecurities, housing, and funding. I'm also passionate about student rights and making sure graduate students get what they deserve. So I'll use my strengths to make this happen.
Okay, thank you, Ali. We'll next move on with Ikeoluwapo.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Ikeoluwapo Baruwa. I'm in my third year of the PhD program. I stand as a candidate for Vice President Graduate at SGPS. My platform centers on food security, funding, housing, access to resources, mental health, peer support, and a sense of belonging. As a former executive with the union, I worked with other executives to advance emergency food support. And if elected, I will collaborate with campus unions to improve access and ensure these programs meet the needs of graduate and professional students. I've worked tirelessly to advocate for increased financial support and advocated against the court proposed for the Queen's Graduate Award. If elected, I will continue to push for equitable and sustainable funding policies. I've stood alongside graduate students in challenging unfair rent increases as a member of the Community Housing Resident Association. I will continue advocating for affordable, fair housing options for all students. I founded the Queen's Journal of Education and have consistently worked to expand opportunities for professional development and academic growth. As a former executive, I facilitated the certification of 2 members of the Joint Health and Safety Committee, one from engineering and the other from science. I also eliminated barriers to accessing mental health resources and advanced professional development bursaries. As a co-chair of the Joint Health and Safety Committee in my faculty, I strive for a healthier campus environment. I've had the privilege of mentoring and supporting several peers through the offices held as a steward, occupational health and safety officer, editor, and even as a graduate student. I've also received testimonials of the influence on graduate students in the Faculty of Education. Finally, I've mentored peers from diverse backgrounds, encouraging collaboration and mutual support to build a strong, inclusive graduate community where everyone feels valued. If elected, I will bring my passion, experience, and dedication to these roles, working to address these critical areas and strengthen our community. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we will move on with Surabhi.
Hi everyone, my name is Surabhi and I'm running for the VP graduate position. I'm in my first year, I'm a first year MSc epidemiology student serving as the 2026 cohort student representative and an events executive for the Fazal community and the Joy Committee. And I'm also part of their peer mentorship group. With experience also in healthcare and research in my extracurriculars and through work, I bring a diverse perspective on the challenges that graduate students face, such as housing and food insecurity, financial instability, and balancing academic and personal responsibilities. Through these roles, I have also developed great communication skills, been given opportunities to create change by pushing against resistance, as well as great leadership skills, and to be able to make a positive change in the community. And the main reason that I want to run is that for this position is that I would like to improve the graduate student well-being and their quality of life by advocating for better resources and ensuring collective action that reflects student feedback to enhance our quality of life. Along with addressing key issues such as increased funding and making working conditions more fair for graduate students by collaborating with other student communities and clubs, as well as initiatives to make these sustainable changes in policies which affect students. I would also like to focus on advocating for food and housing security, building community among all graduate students, no matter their background, no matter their ability, and also increase support for their mental health and the resources for that, and also create a brighter future for them by increasing opportunities for things such as professional development. If elected, I would like to advocate for our graduate students in a positive way for their dynamic needs and promote sustainable changes through collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much, Surabhi. Now we will move on with Dawood.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. My name is Dawood, and I'm a second-year law student. Having experienced the unique challenge of being a graduate and professional student at Queen's, I feel that I can bring both an understanding of our community and a strong drive to create impactful change. In the past, I've worked in managerial capacities in the service industry, industrial operations, and also as a fellow at various think tanks during my undergraduate, where I tackled policy and economic topics, but also niche areas of research. Currently, I'm part of the QBLC, which is the Queen's Business Law Clinic, where we serve small businesses, startups, and not-for-profits mostly. And since joining, I've served in both a caseworker and leadership capacity over there. My experiences, I feel, are key in driving my commitment to increase collaboration, transparency, and persistence, qualities that I want to bring to the role of SGPS president, but also qualities that I believe will benefit the SGPS membership. With respect to the position's requirements, my approach is simple. It's about representation, furthering member interest, and ensuring SGPS sustainability. If elected, my focus is going to be on strengthening our collective voice, ensuring financial and wellness support for SGPS members, and fostering a united, inclusive community. My commitment is to provide strong and effective representation, particularly in dealings with the administration and other stakeholders. Ultimately, my aim is to ensure that SGPS remains sustainable, viable, and capable of delivering robust solutions to meet the needs of its memberships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dawood. We will now move on with Oishik.
Hello everyone, I am Oishik Bhattacharya. Right now I'm in my Master's of Law in the first year, it's my second semester. I am running for the post of the Vice President Finance and Services. So as per the requirement I have earlier back in India, I have my finance and law as my undergrad degree. And after that, I worked for a business firm as a lawyer over there. So it makes me certain capable to execute this role, and it has also honed my skills, these experiences. And after coming to Canada, right now I'm also serving as the finance head of the Indian Graduate Students Association. So where I was able to collect funds from different SGSPA and AMS for certain events. So I think these have made me more wiser to apprehend and work for this role. And if I get elected, like some of the major platforms, I would work on ensuring the criteria of how the grants, funds, and the bursaries are being allocated to the students, and moreover to advocate for a sustainable fee structure that would minimize the financial burden for the SGPS members, and also to work with the finance committee to provide sustainable and equitable bursaries for all the international and the domestic students at the same point of time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now proceed with Destiny.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I am Destine, and don't worry about the pronunciation. It's very challenging. I'm running for VP Professional. I'm currently a 1L law student, and similar to Dawood and Oishik, I'm very interested in being an advocate for our professional students, which includes not just the graduate students, but our own specific needs as medical students, law students, and the education faculty. I believe it's important to advocate for each individual department, and to do that, it's important to actually be able to be accessible, to speak to them, and to understand exactly what those scheduling needs and requirements are. I have an undergrad in business and economics. And when I was at Ivy Business School, I was the VP academic, where I enjoyed being part of the student body and also advocating for clubs, conferences, and exchange students. And as such, I find it's much easier for me to help other people than ever do anything for myself. And so that's why I still want to be involved in student government, because that's exactly what my motivation is. Not only am I a very outgoing and friendly person, I really believe that it's important to increase efficiency and allow everyone to get the best experience that they can from their education. Queens is an amazing school, and I want to be on the student government to allow everyone to have a friendly face that they can turn to and really have that type of impact that they want. So on that note, the 3 pillars of my platform would be advocacy, efficiency, as well as connection. So I hope to hear more from you. Take care.
Okay, thank you, Destine. We'll move on with Megan.
Hi, everyone. My name's Megan Roth. I'm a second-year medical student, and I'm running for VP Professional as well. So a bit about me. Prior to medicine, I worked as a critical care nurse for the past 5 years, and also as a medical legal assistant for the last 9 years. So I have a shared interest in law and medicine, and I'm really excited to continue to explore those professionally. And speaking to my experience with student government, I was also the nursing student liaison and representative in a healthcare professional student committee during my time at U of T, acting on behalf and advocating on behalf of the nursing students. So this professional experience, working closely with physicians and lawyers for the last number of years, has given me a deep understanding of the challenges we face as professional students as we transition to practice. I'm passionate about fostering collaboration across disciplines to enhance learning and professional growth. My professional experience, as well as my experience in student government, I will speak to my experience in student government. I think I already mentioned that. Anyway, in my various experiences, being a strong advocate is very important to me. Whether I advocate for my patients or I advocate for students, it is something I take very seriously, and I would love to be an advocate for professional students. So shifting gears to my ideas for VP Professional, whether in law, healthcare, or education, we can learn a lot from each other, and we have a lot to gain from increasing collaborative opportunities between these programs, and not only between the professional programs, but also graduate students as a whole. At the moment, there's very little engagement between all of these student bodies, and I hope to be the liaison to bring students with shared interests together to really promote collaborative opportunities and set us up for success for when we transition from learners to professionals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Rit.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to congratulate Destine and Megan for running for the candidate for Vice President Professional. I intend to run for the same post. I'm a third-year student in environmental studies at Queen's, and the reason I'm running for this, for those who don't know, is environmental studies is one of the few departments in this in the university that incorporates both Con Ed and medical students who work under our faculty members. So we have direct connections to both the graduate body and the student body. As my competitors have highlighted, bringing both the graduate and professional student bodies together is something that I'm very passionate about, and I believe I have the right experience for it. Currently, I am a board member of Switch, which is a local Kingston non-profit for energy transitions. I'm also the executive member of Queen's Network Environmental Studies. In addition to that, where I think I can particularly help professional students is I have been in the industry for more than 10 years before doing my PhD. So I was in procurement and contracts, directly liaising with multiple legal departments, and I currently work as a project manager, project analyst, beg your pardon, for NRCan in government. So I have government contacts, local contacts, and graduate and professional contacts, which I think I can help in education, career fairs, expansion, support, and especially in this critical year when we are probably, I do not want to get ahead of my union colleagues, but when we're probably getting into a strike action year, expansion and including business studies, where we also cross lies with, would be vital to incorporating all the challenges, especially food and home insecurity that can only be exacerbated if we get into strike action. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Okay, thank you very much to all the candidates. We will now move on to the prepared question part. So I will pose questions to all candidates. So you'll have an opportunity to respond. So the one question will be per category. If there are any rebuttal points you would like to raise, please save them until the end of everyone's response. In the interest of time and fairness, candidates' answers cannot exceed 2 minutes in length. And Katie will signal again when you have 30 seconds left in your answer time, and then you must wrap it up. So we will start with the SGPS trustee question. We'll start with Emils' answer first. As a trustee, your role will be to sit in meetings where you will have the opportunity to engage in key decisions and provide the perspectives of graduate students. How do you plan to ensure student engagement and transparency between SGPS students and the Board of Trustees? And how do you plan on advocating for graduate students at the Board of Trustee meetings?
Thank you. That's a great question. I believe that transparency and trust are crucial for effective governance. And during my time as SGPS president, I've collaborated with the rector and the AMS president to call for greater transparency during the last board open session. While we often encounter honesty in these spaces and in communication with the university, proactive engagement, the kind that is required for true transparency, is still lacking, in my opinion. I'm hopeful that the university will move in the right direction to rebuild trust with the community. And then in terms of how I will engage with the board behind these opaque closed doors, I'm hoping that based on my track record of standing up for students, that you are able to trust that I will consistently advocate for the unique student experience, which is often absent from these discussions. And I will make every effort to be transparent where permitted, but I also acknowledge that being bound by non-disclosure agreement is not something that I prefer. Nonetheless, I will honor that responsibility while working within those boundaries to ensure the voices of students are heard. I also commit to continue the transparency and engagement initiatives that our current trustees have started, such as the Tea with Trustees events, which provide an avenue for direct dialogue with students. These initiatives are essential to building a bridge between the Board of Trustees and the student body. And of course, I'm determined to strengthen them further.
Thank you very much, Emils. So Nick, same question for you. How do you plan to ensure student engagement and transparency between SGPS students and the Board of Trustees? And how do you plan on advocating for graduate students at the Board of Trustees meetings?
For sure. So as Emils correctly noted, one of the main challenges there is the confidentiality requirement that all trustees are held to. But I think there's still a lot that trustees and student trustees in particular can do in order to make sure that they're being as transparent as they can, and also that they're conveying information as much as they can in the other direction. So I think the current initiatives are great, and I would definitely continue them. But I'd also note that we need to do a little bit more proactively in order to engage with the sort of students who aren't necessarily going to go out and search how can I get in contact with the Board of Trustees. The broader student body is not necessarily as currently engaged in governance and student politics and all that goes with that. So I think that one of the ways to do that, for example, is to work with other elected or appointed representatives of students at different levels. Go, for example, talk to the Student Senate Caucus, which is full of representatives at the faculty levels, both for graduate, professional, and undergraduate programs, and other even departmental representatives as needed. As far as conveying student issues and student interests to the board, I'd note it's not just graduates, also the professional students. And while I completely support all the advocacy that's happened so far, I mean, at least suspending for 1 year the QTA cuts that the university wanted to enact while they're currently reviewing it, I think that's a huge win. We also need to factor in things that affect the professional student bodies. So that's where the main point of my platform around it's both research and the teaching are the main point of the university, and we need to make sure that both are strongly supported and defended as the university navigates its financial situation.
Hey, thank you very much, Nick. We'll now move on to the candidates for Vice President Community. Tanya, I believe you're the only one here, so the question is for you. As President of Vice President Community, your role is to ensure that all voices of the SGPS student body are heard. How do you ensure that the recommendations you provide to the SGPS executives and council are well informed and representative of students? Can you touch on a time that you have networked with students, with student groups, or acted in university committees?
For sure. So first touching on how would I get a sense of student voices and what I'm bringing to the SGPS community, or to the committee, sorry. I was actually going to say even through campaigning, I've got to reach out to a lot of organizations, even the one that Surabhi's from. I actually got to talk to students from different faculties to get a better understanding of what actually students are feeling currently and what should be talked about, because we can all talk about the exact same thing here, is one thing I realized, but we can only know what exactly is happening when you talk to them directly. And something I do believe is sometimes those people who want to say something don't get to say something. And so I feel like going to different faculties, going to different organizations, sending out surveys instead of having students come forward and voice their opinions can also be a great way to get a better understanding of what students are feeling with current issues and what is exactly happening. An example of an opportunity where I have done something like this, I would say, is actually my role as on Vogue Charity Fashion Show as the IEDIAA representative, because I have to have those values and respect those values and the diverse community that that student population has. There are around 200 people in that club, and we are all very, very, very different individuals, and we have to respect each other and the differences, but the unique talents that we bring to that group. And so getting to learn more about each individual, what they believe in, what they respect, what they feel that should be acknowledged within that community, help me understand what I can do within that role to help them feel comfortable with what is happening and how to move forward within that club. Just to conclude, I just want to say that I do believe that I am well versed with the IEDIAA values, and I can bring that to each faculty. And while I'm getting all this information from different faculties, I believe that being as transparent with what I'm hearing would be the best thing for SGPS. And again, taking these words and voices and taking action would be in the best interest of all graduate and professional students.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will now move on to the Vice President of Finance. So your question is, in your position of Vice President of Finances, you are in charge of managing the $1 million that encompass student fees and manage the SGPS Financial Assistance Program. How do you plan to engage with students to better understand how the SGPS can support them financially?
At first, it should be divided in three parts. So mostly there should be I should try to outreach students in person, and also to get department reviews on how fundings can be divided. Moreover, the fundings and the finances of the bursaries should also be focused on the marginalized community for a equitable, diverse department. So there should be also frequently regular audits that should be done so that fees are utilized effectively and responsibly. Moreover, the distribution of the bursaries, grants, and the sponsorships should be timely disbursed with the students, and so that they can work on their requirements. The funding procedures should be streamlined in such a way that it should be fast and digitalized for most of the students, and making it more accessible. And about reviewing certain mandatory fees would be like a regular review of those fees that should ensure the alignment with the services that are being provided. And I should also work on certain contingency fund which will maintain the healthy reserve and could be disbursed for students when they are required.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now proceed with the question for the candidates for Vice President Graduate. So starting with Ali. As Vice President Graduate, your role is to advocate for graduate students. Based on your experience, what do you think are the needs of the graduate students, and how do you plan on maintaining student engagement?
All right, so I guess graduate students need a lot of things, to be honest, but the three main important aspects of their needs is funding, housing, and food insecurities. About food insecurities, I know that there are two sources in Queen's University AMS and PITCH program. I know that newcomers, especially international students, when they reach to Kingston, they might not be aware of these programs. So we have to increase the awareness through social media and also by emphasizing on these programs on introductory sessions. About housing, we have two sources again in Kingston. One of them is community housing and the other one is private landlords. I want to really work closely with PSAC 901 to develop more student-friendly agreements. And also, since more graduate students are in need of affordable housing, I want to come up with a plan to have more housing like Einklecken and John Orr Tower. And about funding, I think we need more power. And also what we can do is we need to show transparency to our supervisors. We can show them that the amount of money as funding that they are giving us is not sufficient for us as graduate students to have normal life. I actually used this method 2 years ago in our group to actually increase our funding, and I guess that was a successful plan. And yeah, these are my approaches for the problems that graduate students might have.
Thank you very much, Ali. Now we'll move on with Ikeoluwapo. Same question. Based on your experience, what do you think are the needs of the graduate students, and how do you plan on maintaining student engagement?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as a as a former executive member, one thing I would always say is that what drives me is honesty and integrity. I don't make false claims, and I try to put my all into whatever I'm doing. And this is what I've done in the past, and I can do it again. I strongly believe I can do that again. So one thing we can do is that for example, when I came in as the occupational health and safety officer at PSS in Iowa, I distributed a survey, to understand the needs and what the student needs. And so I believe that through the survey, we can get, information about, what the needs of the student. And I think that this is a good place to start. And this is, like I said, I've worked with other executives to implement all these things, and I've listened to them. I've encountered the whole problem, and it's beyond, so like I would say, it's beyond just you seeing, listening. It's you immersing yourself into it. I've been part of the groups, and I've advocated in different, areas, and I see that it's more than what we anticipate. For example, in the Faculty of Education, I've been advocating for increased funding since I arrived at Queen's since 2022, and we are still on it presently. I have testimonials from people who can testify to that. And so it continues that way. So I believe that the problems that my colleague has identified, Ali, he talked about, is very common: food insecurity, food insecurity, housing, and funding. These are common things, but I think we should also think about the mental health of the student. As a PhD, as a master, as a professional student, these are things that we should look at. And one thing I would also add to what I've heard from my fellow is that PSS and Iowa also has, food assistance programs, and SGPS also has something like that. So it's not only PITCH and AMS. There are different opportunities out there.
We gotta pause you here now.
You can leverage that.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, same question for Surabhi. Based on your experience, what do you think are the needs of the graduate students, and how do you plan on maintaining student engagement?
Well, based on my past experiences as the MSc Epidemiology student representative, as well as my involvement in FISA and the Joy Committee, I've also been researching online as to what our graduate students need overall around the campus. And from the Shift survey, I found that a lot of people express their need for improvement in mental health services, such as reducing wait time so that people can be seen faster and not delay their need for help. So I think taking initiative in not essentially creating new mental health services or services for anything really. I think that what we really need to do is invest more time into improving what we already have so that we can stay resourceful, given that Queens is kind of tight for funding for many things. So I think for any kind of initiative, not only limited to mental health, I think we should be more resourceful and expand on those. And I also saw that them expressing more need for security and food and housing security. So I would really like to collaborate with the local government as well as faculty who do research on these things, because I have been contacting faculty to see what we can do to make food and housing security a lot better. And I also read that people want more campus security. So I would really like to implement measures to increase, for example, lighting and more monitoring around campus. And also, as part of my campaign, I really want to increase community involvement of BIPOC and international students with the local students as well, just so that we can have a better togetherness and better community overall. And as for the teachers' assistants and anyone who's working, us as graduate students, we're not only students, we're essentially employees as well, because we get paid for this stuff. So, and I've been hearing that people are being overworked and underpaid compared to other universities as well. And for me, like, this is a really crucial issue because these are my peers and I don't want to see them suffer in their academics while needing to maintain basic needs, right? So I really want to work with PSAC as well as professors who oversee the TAs and alleviate their financial stresses, and also address the aspect of being overworked.
I'm gonna pause you here, Surabhi. Thank you.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, VP graduate candidates. We'll now move on to the candidates question for Vice President Professional. So we'll start with Destine. As Vice President Professional, your role is to advocate for professional students. Based on your current experience, how do you think the needs of professional students differ from those of graduates? And how do you think your experience enables you to speak on behalf of all professional students at Queens?
Love the question. Thank you. I'm also very happy that I'm following Surabhi. I think what is a really important trait is being able to listen. And so based off of what Surabhi had just said about how her needs are about, they're currently working and things like that, and then also being very empathetic and knowing who I represent, such as the professional degrees, and what sort of situation that we're in. So for example, we are currently just in school. We do not have a job. And so we are really stressed about recruiting and finding that job. How can we make sure that, obviously for medical students, the type of recruiting and experience is different than law students, and also the year and tenure of the program. And so being mindful of those things, I'm not going to be an expert at telling a medical student how to get a job. For that example, I know that I need to go and reach out to each degree to speak to them, to find the experts in their area and put them in front of our students in the professional programs respectively. And I think that's how it's really important, knowing that there are different needs in this recruiting example. But additionally, we also are all within the same boat of having a lot of stress on ourselves. So how can we blow off some steam? What is there different things that we want outside of just getting our professional degree and education? We want community, we want a sense of belonging, and we also want to, enjoy being back in school, even though it's a professional program. So what does that look like? For example, we have med law games. You don't have to be an athlete, you don't have to compete, but that doesn't mean that you can't be a fan and come support. So those are just two different examples of how I know it's very important to listen, to advocate, to put experts who actually have had the experience in front, as well as bring the connection together so that you can also get more out of than just what you came to school for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justine. We'll move on with Megan. Same question. Based on your current experience, how do you think the needs of professional students differ from those of graduates? And how do you think your experience enables you to speak on behalf of all professional students at Queen's?
Thank you so much. And thank you, Justine, for speaking those important points. So just for clarity, and this is something I struggled with as well, the term professional is a very subjective term, and SGPS defines professional program as from medicine, law, or education. So it's interesting to speak about the differences in needs of professional students and graduate students, because it's almost impossible to make that defining feature, because there's a lot of similarities and there's many differences, and there's many similarities that I would have with another health professional program that's not considered a professional program by the SGPS, for example, like nurse practitioners and medical students might have similar challenges, which would be very different from those of a law student and also different from those as an education student. So I think understanding student needs based on their professional bodies and what they will be doing in practice is very important. I don't know if differentiating professional student from graduate student is the best way to differentiate those needs. But along those lines, my goal, if elected for VP professional, is to bring students together with shared interests and shared fields, as well as combining the current professional students, because there are overlapping needs as well. So I want to make sure I can utilize the existing student governance structures, for example, the different student councils, and navigating this collaborative process is not easy. I actually founded the Queen's Interprofessional Healthcare Student Association last year, which brings together occupational therapy, physiotherapy, nursing, and medicine. So navigating that process and bringing those students together is not easy, but I have experience doing so, and I would love the opportunity to do that between medicine and law, education and medicine, all the combos, mostly relating to bringing students with shared interests together in a productive and practical and productive way. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Megan. And now we'll move on with Rich, and same question. Based on your current experience, how do you think the needs of professional students differ from those of graduates? And how do you think your experience enables you to speak on behalf of all professional students at Queen's?
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to highlight and kind of go at the premise of the question. I think some of the challenges that a graduate student face in terms of housing, in terms of food insecurity, and in terms of funding, that's a common challenge across all professional students as well. But in terms of difference, so as I said, I have reached out through my campaigning, and I also spoke to the current incumbent in this position. I think there are particular challenges with respect to jobs, because professional careers are a bit different from other students who might have a direct path to a PhD. If you're in masters, for example. So those are things that are exclusive here. In addition to that, international students who are on a student permit, for example, if you're in law, you cannot practice, you cannot intern as a lawyer, even if you might have a visa. So those are unique challenges that other graduate students do not face. So I think those are the issues that I'll target. My experience is across, as I said, I'm in environmental studies, so anybody who wants to, for example, and I'll give concrete examples. So, for example, in the School of Policy Studies, if somebody is working with the Jamshed Merchant, and they are into international law, that can be something that is that we can point in the right direction to. If somebody is in health sciences and they want to work with Louise Wen, or if they're going for aging and health with Mark Rosenberg in geography. So these are cross connections because I am in different departments that I think I can bring. And finally, just to wrap it up, I think the biggest thing that I can bring is to integrate the professional students with the grad students because of the department I'm in and the experience that I have. And I definitely want to have a more robust united student community.
Hey, thank you much, Rit, and all candidates for Vice President Professional. We'll now finish with the candidate for President, Dawood. So, as the president, you are the primary face of the SGPS, an advocate for graduate and professional students at Queen's University, including at Senate meetings. Given the financial constraints of the university, the SGPS is in a unique position where it must both collaborate with the administration to provide essential services and resources and advocate for greater support to address issues like food insecurity and the rising cost of living. Question: can you share an example or explain how you would navigate an adversarial conversation while maintaining professional relationships to defend the needs of others? Additionally, how do you plan to ensure transparency between the SGPS membership and university executives?
Thanks, Eileen. To the first point, on how to navigate the challenge that you've described, I think it has to require an approach which is about seeking, well, first of all, making clear and explicit demands, and then seeking clear and explicit answers. In my experience, especially dealing with not-for-profit structures, the issue is that any question that's put forward on a table receives a response that is shaky at best. Nothing can be left on hope or an impression that, you know, this will turn out okay for us. If it's not a yes or a no, it might as well be a no. And that's the approach that I think is effective at this stage, because at the end of the day, one thing that always has to be remembered is that representing the interest of any of the students in SGPS at any of these committees is about all those thousands of students, not just about one person as myself or the executive committee at all. And any decision, any input that has to take into account what the mandate of the SGPS is, what its bylaws say, what its other policy or governing documents say, and that has to be structured into a response with any of those stakeholders. As to the second part of your question, and can you just briefly remind me what that was, because it was a long preamble and I seem to have lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, so the second part was, how do you plan to ensure transparency between the SGPS membership and university executives?
Yeah, so with respect to transparency, and this was a point raised earlier, that there are confidentiality agreements as part of some of these, associations. And let's assume for a moment that, in a simplified world, some of these do not have those confidentiality constraints. In that case, we can disclose to the membership either at the annual meeting or special meetings or however those are called, what happened, what transpired, this was our response, and this is what we did, and this is what we can do by raising our voices. So that's one way to do it. The other is to also periodically update the students on telling them what we're doing in terms of our conversations with the university, in terms of our finances, and also the finances of the administration, where they do disclose those to us, to make sure that students are aware of what's going on. Again, going back to those SGPS mandates and governing documents, those should also in general lay out what membership rights are as part of the SGPS, so that they can also ask if they're not provided.
Pause you here, Dawood. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, that wraps up the pre-prepared questions part of the debate. I want to thank all candidates for their answers. So now we'll open up the discussion to the attendees as well. So attendees are welcome to ask questions. You can put them up in the chat and I can read them out loud. And then also for the candidates, if you would like to rebuttal at all, just raise your hand and I will call on you. Okay, we've got a question for VP professionals. How will you work with groups and institutions outside of Queens to help students find jobs? So that's addressed to everyone, so I can open it to Destine first.
Great question. I know that's definitely a large concern, especially given that we've come into a professional degree, taking on a lot of debt and hoping to achieve something. We know that our first job out, we want it to be a solid position and role. And so how I would say matching and ensuring that like all of the students get good jobs and exactly where they want. Everyone has different needs and interests, and I think obviously that means holding many different opportunities available and different platforms. And so how do we ensure that people find them? Well, it's all about communication and transparency. I think what is really helpful is knowing, do we have any alum? Like Queen's is a very good school. So do we have any alum in the industry or the company in which you're currently interested in? And are you comfortable reaching out to them? What I knew even before coming to this campus was that everyone was really proud to be a part of Queen's and always willing to give back. So I think that's a really good start for cold outreach. And then the rest of it is just, how can we go and get more involved in like different events that there are experts in the industry that are being held. And so you can start networking and getting to know who are the different players, who are the different companies, and putting yourself out there, knowing what they are interested in, not just what they list on their job title and description. And then that's how you can also differentiate yourself as a candidate. So I think also practicing for interviews and having peers review any of your candidate applications is also very helpful. And I believe setting the different events up like that, knowing when the recruiting cycle is something that's very doable and will increase your success at finding a job.
Hey, thank you very much, Justine. I'll open the answer up for Megan as well. So question, how will you work with groups and institutions outside of Queen's to help students find jobs?
That is such a good question and very topical, because I'm sure we all want jobs. We all need to do something with our degrees once we finish. So the challenge with that question is it is quite vague. So who is looking for the job? Am I helping as a medical student, am I helping medical students find jobs? Or am I helping graduate students connect with the outlined professional programs to get a job? So each professional program, medicine, law, and education, have their own kind of, like, obviously they have their own specificities on what jobs they're applying for and how they best prepare their students for those jobs. I can definitely say medicine is very motivated to do that. But where I think VP Professional would be most helpful is for students who are interested in changing careers or changing professions. So one of my motivations for VP Professional is to create very clear lines of communication connecting graduate students and professional students together, as well as professional students to other professional students. So, for example, if a PhD in biology wants to go into law, I want there to be a clear communication channel where they can explore or learn from or find mentorship from a different program that they might want to go into. And that would be the best way to set them up for success if they're looking for a career. I'm not going to try to speak on behalf of all the specific programs. I don't think I'm the best person to talk to Justine about how to get a law position. I can empower the law faculty through whatever connections or mentorship I can through VP Professional, but I'm going to promote the accessibility to mentorship, which in my opinion is the best way to find more information on careers and the best way to kind of understand how to be a successful applicant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll open the same question up for Rich. So how will you work with groups and institutions outside of Queen's to help students find jobs?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. I think I might be at an unfair advantage here as a professional who has deep connections with the industry. But I think the most important thing is through the career fairs. Right now, beginning of October, we have a career fair for 2 days. One day is dedicated to engineering, the other day is for general, and it does not specify anything beyond that. So I have gone to both those fairs as having an engineering background, and every time I go there, I learn that every company beyond engineers on the first day and beyond the generic positions in the second day are looking for lawyers and medical professionals. Health Canada came here specifically asking that they are looking for professionals in Health Canada. Right now, if you go to the city of Kingston, they're hiring for procurement and legal contracts jobs. So the problem right now is what I plan to do is have those career fairs like we have for engineering, and then divide the sections into instead of just general, having law, medical, con ed, and every other graduate, to be very honest with you, having positions that they're advertising so that people know to go to those places, speak to those advertisers, and get those jobs. In addition to that, I bring my personal kind of experience into this as well. I'm currently, as I said, working with the Government of Canada. I am involved in the local community in Switch and Sustainable Kingston as well. So I think I can leverage those contacts into not just coming for career fair, but other things as well, like financing the Medlaw games, maybe have a Con Ed and business bowl, and all of them come together to increase visibility of students. Basically, that is most important because it'll serve a dual function. It'll get students recognized in front of the wider community here. And in addition, it'll raise funds, not just for charities as the current Medlaw games do, but also for us in terms of all these insecurities that we face going into potentially a strike here, which might be the case. So those are my kind of answers, and I'm always willing to listen to go forward.
Okay, thank you very much. This next question is for the candidate for the president, so Dawood. Can you expand more on what you meant by ensuring representation? What are your concrete plans in ensuring equity for women, queer folks, Black and BIPOC graduate and professional students, especially now with the rise of homophobia and transphobia and racism?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to clarify, if I said ensuring representation, I probably meant ensuring financial and wellness support. But with respect to representation particularly, I think there are two aspects of this question, and correct me if I'm wrong. But there's the broader social issue concerning, targeting marginalized groups. And then there's the aspect of being a student at Queen's and being affected based on a facet of your identity. Obviously, I can't speak to all the challenges faced by different groups of students. It's up to them to raise, awareness about their challenges. However, we are supposed to listen. So in that respect, the SGPS serves two types of roles. There is the facilitating role. If any of these groups of students have their own platform and they want to engage that platform against the university administration or other stakeholders in the Queen's community, then it is our duty to facilitate that movement. And we can do that with support. The other is a supporting role in the sense that if those students are part of the SGPS community in a specific context, let's say, for instance, either being targeted by the university administration or other stakeholders where the SGPS does serve as the mediator in a way, at that point, it's up to us to take that fight up for them, essentially. So I think that those are the two ways. Ultimately, I would say that it's about listening to what the needs of these students are and what their concerns are and addressing them based on tailored solutions. Like I said, we can't just blanket cover all of the problems based on our own experience or thoughts. It has to require input from all these different student groups.
Hey, thank you very much. So now we'll move on to a question for the trustee candidates and also for the president candidate. So we'll start with the trustees' answers. And if you want to answer that question, just feel free to raise your hand. I won't go through the list again. There are multiple and intersecting on-campus divestment campaigns against Queen's investment portfolios, which exacerbates climate change and war. The campaigns are calling for full divestment from fossil fuel, weapons, and companies complicit with apartheid in Palestine. What is your commitment to hearing the students that have been tirelessly working behind these campaigns and advocating for them through your access of Board of Trustees, and university's leaderships. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Emils.
All right, thank you so much for that question. That is a very important question, one that carries a lot of weight. And I'll perhaps start by saying how we have focused as the SGPS. Our investments are socially responsible and do not invest in any defense contracting. And we're proud that we have a conflict-free portfolio. And we also are very content with the returns we are getting. And I think if we as the SGPS can be content with the returns based on such a social investing portfolio, that ultimately the university should be able to achieve something similar as well. And my understanding of the process for the divestment review is that it's currently within a committee, and that will eventually be passed down to the administration, brought back through the Fathi subcommittee, and then presented to the board. So this is very much already in motion, and I wholeheartedly would support any divestment from securities that fund conflict. I don't think in this day and age that we should be supporting conflict in any form. That is my personal view. And then in terms of keeping an open door to any concerned community member, that is always a policy I would uphold. If anyone has concerns, I would be happy to hear them.
Okay, Dawood?
Yeah, and just in addition to what Emil said, and also kind of expanding on my response to the first question, a lot of times it's about listening to these students who are taking on these initiatives. Like I said, it's not a one-man operation, so to speak. I cannot decide, the interest of other people when they involve specific and niche topics of which I have no exposure to. If it's housing or finances, that's a general concern for almost all members of the students of the Queen's community, and that's more easily tackled. But when it's sensitive like this, it's about engaging in dialogue with these student groups and understanding what they're asking for and what we can do for them. It's also kind of important to understand that there's a distinction between Queen's investments and SGPS. I just want to highlight, like, at least in theory, the SGPS is independent from the university in that it's its own corporation and all that. So when the question asks what we can do to prevent the university from in making certain investments or not making certain investments, in practice, probably not much at the end of the day, because this is not just up to the SGPS at the end of the day, it's up to them and their decision making. We can voice our concerns, we can lead a movement to kind of discourage them from making certain investments. However, not every time we do that, it will be successful. If the university decides to put up a fountain in the middle of Grant Hall for some reason, and that impacts student life, it's not necessarily an issue that we need to take up with them. On the other hand, if they decide to remove all residence for students, that's an issue that we have to take up. So that's just by way of example.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll open the floor to Nick.
All right, thank you. So I broadly agree with what the other two candidates have said. I just want to note in response to one thing that Dawood said, that I guess this is a slight difference between the two positions we're running for. On the trustee side, I mean, students form a small part of the Board of Trustees. The student voices are 3 out of the 25 members, but the Board of Trustees overall, which includes us 3 students, is ultimately responsible for all the financial decisions, including the investments. So behind closed doors, it's a bit of a hybrid between, we are sometimes a bit of an advocate, but we're also on equal footing to the other trustees of student body, the other trustees. We are helping make the decision. There's just fewer of us than there are of external folk on that board. I think one other relevant point, to avoid repeating what's already been said, is I think it's really important that I mean, as the questioner noted, there's been a lot of groups bringing up concerns, and recently the university put out some guidelines on peaceful protests, they called it, in response to those. I read through that. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I've taken some courses on law, but I'm not a lawyer. I can't comment on really legal aspects of it, but it seemed like a not especially helpful document. I mean, I kind of get what they're going for there. Obviously the university is trying to protect its own liabilities and cover its own interests there, but I think I mean, if you read the document literally, and to the extreme, it says that you can be expelled for putting up a poster in the wrong place, which obviously is probably not going to happen. But I think what we need from the university is more clarity, less sort of excessive trying to dampen down on everything when they have a minor issue, and kind of respect that the university students may disagree with the administration, but they have a right to voice that disagreement, and that's an important part of being a public institution.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. So this is a question directly for Surabhi. Considering you want to partner with campus security, what is your stand on the repression and brutality against students exercising their rights on campus by the campus police? Also, wondering if we are acknowledging that for many BIPOC students, police presence and the increase of surveillancing means increasing the risk upon their safety on a campus where they should not be feeling this fear. Would that account into your collaboration with them? And if so, how will you balance this complicated relationship between police, campus security, and students?
That's a great question. First of all, I would acknowledge the issue. I would oppose any kind of repression or brutality against the students exercising their rights on campus. And if there's, for example, if there's a protest, I would want to ensure that it's like a peaceful protest and it's not harmful to any of the other students or any faculty members or anything. And I will also recognize BIPOC concerns by acknowledging that for many BIPOC students, the presence of police or increased surveillance, like how you said, is an increased concern for them because they feel threatened, right? So this is a valid concern. And however, I think that hard set rules on the extent to which those in power can actually use their power would ensure that students would not feel threatened by those that are essentially there to protect them. And further expanding on like my stance on the relationship with campus security, campus should be a space where all students feel safe, especially those of like marginalized groups, right? So any policies or actions that jeopardizes safety will be considered unacceptable, and action will be taken on them immediately. And I would also try to push for mechanisms that hold campus security or the police, if at that level, accountable for their actions, such as independent oversight, clear reporting systems for misconduct, and as well as like transparency in how security decisions are made. And to balance the relationships, I would collaborate thoughtfully with the students as well as campus security. And also I would push for reform, advocating for community-led approaches to campus safety and prioritize like de-escalation and mental health support over this as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Surabhi. So next we'll move on for a question for Rit. Can you share your thoughts on why you decided to run for VP Professional as a non-professional student? And how do you plan to address concerns about representing professional students effectively, given you yourself are not one?
Well, thank you for the questions. I'll be very blunt with this. I think the distinction is entirely arbitrary. When Megan and Destina were speaking, they highlighted kind of to the point that a law student does not know the unique challenges that a medical student faces, and vice versa. The Environmental Studies Department, or the school as it is more rightly called, is one of the few places where we have both graduate and professional students who are involved in their education. That is why I chose to go through it, because one of the primary reasons when the election was advertised was to not just advocate, but to create a sense of community for professional students who might have their unique challenges, which they do. What I want to effectively do is bring this body closer. And I believe that with my professional background and experience, I have those unique skill sets to do that. And also with the department that I'm in, which is more cross-connected than other departments that might be there. I very much plan to, as I said, I think during the opening statement or during the questions, also expand what it means to be a professional student. So people in planning, they are professional students, in my opinion, engineering, business. And so I am basically running in this position to change the definition itself, increase cross synergy so that professional or graduate students can find better alternatives. So professional students are those who are looking for a non-academic job and not limited by exclusively what department they're from. I think that is the way to go, and that is why I'm applying for the post.
Thank you very much, Rit. So this is a question for Vice President Community. How do you plan to engage a diverse community of students from different backgrounds and faculties?
So first off, I do believe that everyone is different and unique, and that should not be a barrier to engaging within events or initiatives that SGPS holds. And each program has its own stress and demands, so these initiatives and what is being done should be arranged to respect the schedules of students, depending on whatever program you may be in. So I see myself creating opportunities for events and initiatives that students can see themselves within, rather than making it very vague or generalized, so that there is a sense of representation. And to do that, you would have to collect interest from different groups. And so I do also want to show support by engaging in celebrations with other groups and show that SGPS ultimately cares, regardless of your background or who you are. Everyone is a student, and you have your own unique background, but that shouldn't be, again, a barrier. So I see myself engaging with different groups and organizations on campus and even off campus too, and creating new community partners, but also holding those same community partners that have been created within this year. And I do also want to make sure that, as I mentioned, the representation that international to us LGBTQ plus neurodiverse students with disabilities and also the BIPOC community can see their representation within everything that we do. And so I hope that this is something I do really want to push for, but within the newsletter that SGPS does send out, that we do embrace these things that may be happening within our community and informing individuals from different faculties that, okay, this event is happening, why not engage? So ultimately, it's a huge umbrella of ideas, and I do see myself somehow getting different students to engage, and I will try my best to help create those opportunities where individuals can see themselves.
Hey, thank you very much. So we'll move on to a question. So this is, I assume, for the professional students. Do we have the resources for specialized career fairs as stated, especially given uncertain times as stated by the candidate? They say it seems like the approach aims to bite off more than we currently have resources to achieve. So I will pass that on to Rit.
All right. So thank you so much for the question, Kwan. I hope I got your name right there. I just want to emphasize here the way the career fairs are structured. I'm not advocating right at the moment for getting any funds from the university. What I'm looking at and leveraging my connections, obviously, in the industry to bring more people, but also what we have. When you go into an engineering fair, you have people who are going into, say, mining engineering. You have those who are in civil engineering. You have separate rows for them. When we go to the normal fair for everyone else, it's basically you go in and search. What I want to do is when those people are coming for professional needs and students, we have a row for law. Those are into legal professions, for medicine, for public health, for environmental and sustainability, for planning, for geography. What we need to do is, and this does not require resources beyond my time as the VP candidate, or if elected, the VP professional. I want to liaise with the career department, look at whoever is coming, hopefully add some from our side, and divide the jobs they're advertising so that we can arrange them in that order so that people know where to go, just as they do in engineering. And I think that is a simple method to remove inefficiency, know which are summer jobs, know which are permanent jobs, and we can take it on from there. So that is kind of my idea of streamlining the career fair. And, that I believe will have benefit not just for professional students, but also for graduate students or any students who visits that. So I hope that clears it up. And if there are any further questions, please do reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rit. I'll quickly pass it off to Megan.
Hi, thank you so much. I think that's a great question. And Rit, I think you spoke very clearly to the point that there's definitely certain programs that could benefit from a job fair. But I also want to make the point that there are professional programs, particularly medicine and law that might not, where a job fair is not feasible, nor is it helpful. If someone is interested in medicine, for example, a job fair is not, there would be, this is not the way to kind of pursue that avenue. And I answered the question in the Q&A, but I'll kind of reiterate it. I think the best way, and I switched careers myself. I was a nurse, I was a professional as a nurse, and now I'm in medicine. And the best way that I have found to switch careers and to secure a job is to better understand the field that you're switching into. So that's why I'm promoting mentorship opportunities and educational opportunities open to more students so that they can better inform themselves on the specifics of what the job they're looking for entails. Now, I also mentioned that I want to foster and kind of use the existing relationships that the different professional programs have with outside institutions. For example, medicine works very closely with various rural health networks and public health. So, for example, if a epidemiology student was interested in a job in ERMEP, which is one of the rural health organizations, we would be able to facilitate or more easily facilitate an educational event or a mentorship opportunity in that way. So it is really job specific, and it would be based on what job students are interested in, because job fairs is not a feasible way to get all jobs, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you, Megan. And sorry, Destine, I'm gonna have to cut you off. We're gonna end the debate here. I just wanted to thank everyone, all the candidates for coming and sharing their platforms. I want to thank all the attendees for coming, as well as asking questions to the candidates. I think everyone did a great job at responding. As it's been included, and I think all of the candidates' campaign materials, people are free to reach out to them, to their emails that they've put in their campaign materials. Also, candidates' platforms are available on the SGPS website, as well as links to interviews with journals and CFRC. With regards to instructions with the election, I want to remind everyone that the election ballot will be released January 29th, and it closes on the 30th. Students will receive the ballot in their Queen's email from vote@simplyvoting.com. So please check your junk and spam. And if you have not received a link or an email from them, please email us by 3 p.m. on January 29th at elections@sgps.ca. Thank you. And this will be posted to our website as well. So thanks, everyone.
And that is a wrap for the 2025 Society of Graduate and Professional Students All Candidates Debate. SGPS members are reminded that they can learn more about all candidates and their platforms on the SGPS website at sgps.ca, where they can also watch video from that debate. Alongside this broadcast, SGPS members can also find audio of this debate on CFRC's Campus Beat podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Music, and via podcast.cfrc.ca. Thank you for tuning in to CFRC Today and our coverage of the SGPS All Candidates Debate. I'm Dinah Jansen.